Hi everyone, Tony Tonkin here from the Child Protection Party. This is an interesting issue that just came, I noticed today on my Twitter feed, and it's in relation to parents who are disabled and having their children removed by the Department of Child Protection. This is an issue which has concerned me for a long, long time, and I've worked with many people who are more than capable of being the parent that they need to be, but have had their children removed because they've been seen as intellectually disabled or physically disabled and therefore not able to provide the emotional support that they are supposed to be able to provide for their children, apparently. This is a vexed issue which we actually need to get on top of and we need to deal with as soon as possible. I'm about to play a video for you which was from the UK, and the issues which are discussed in this video are the same issues that we experience here in Australia. That if you're a disabled person, you are less likely to be able to be allowed, permitted, whatever, to have your child remain with you because you are judged as being incapable to be the parent that you need to be. No assessment necessarily, even though the assessments that they do will have a look at your intellectual capacity, they'll have a look at your physical capacity, they'll do everything they can in order to determine that because of how you present intellectually or physically or emotionally, you therefore cannot have your children. And this disability also applies to mental well-being, I hasten to add. That because you have mental well-being issues, therefore you cannot also have your children. This is an important issue that we confront here in Australia, but we don't. No one seems to do any reporting about this. No one seems to talk about this in the media specifically. And certainly people like Lauren Novak should be focusing on this so that it can be brought out in the Advertiser, so that we can have a look at what is happening in this country, in this state in South Australia, in relation to the way we deal with and manage disabilities. It's sad to work with people who have a disability, who are more than capable of looking after their children, but are told that they are not by people who simply judge them for the fact that they have a disability. There are not enough services available for people that find themselves confronted by the child protection system. There are not enough services available to provide advocacy services for people that have got disabilities. And I have tried over the years, but we as advocates are often not heard either. But we need to change the way we're viewing disabilities. We need to become aware that people who are simply physically, emotionally and psychologically appear to be disabled and intellectually disabled doesn't necessarily mean that they can't care for and protect their children. That is absolute crap. And we need to do something about changing all of that. So I'm just going to play this video for you, and any issues that arise in this video as we go through it that I think we need to talk about, I will stop the video and have a conversation. If you'd like to put some comments in our comment section, I would certainly love to hear from you as to what you think about this. I do ask you to watch this video all the way through. It is really interesting, and everything in this video applies to us here in Australia as well.
They said I couldn't parent my children, so my disability.
I met Anna, who has a moderate learning disability and whose 3 children are in care despite her attempts to keep them. The youngest...
I just missed a bit of the video out. I'm just going to start the video again, and we will go from there. I missed the first part of it out, unfortunately. Let's see how we go now.
I am a mother with an invisible disability, and I am one of those mothers that asked for help. And I was punished by courts like this behind me because I dared to ask for help.
These mothers want support, not separation. They say their children are being taken into care because of a system prejudiced against disabled parents.
I've been in court proceedings, assessments. They said I couldn't parent my children, so my disability.
I met Anna, who has a moderate learning disability and whose 3 children are in care despite her attempts to keep them. The youngest is 9 months old.
I find it really upsetting and hurt because, I'm not going to see my children now until 18. I wish I did have more support. yeah, not getting judged, and yeah, it's not okay.
Of course, Anna's story, like most, is complex. Her learning disabilities make it harder for her to look after a child. She's also on low income, and her partner was abusive. Sadly, issues not uncommon for disabled mums. But Anna says, and campaigners agree, that she wasn't given enough support, that assumptions were made about her abilities as a parent, that as a disabled mum, the odds were stacked against her from the start. We asked councils in England how often a parent's learning disability was a factor in a child being taken into care in the last 3 years. The 116 which responded recorded almost 6,000 times, or 8.1% of the total. The number of parents with a learning disability is very small, an estimated 0.15% of all parents. So they are 54 times more likely to have their children taken into care. And parents with physical disabilities have shared their stories with me too. Jean has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which causes joint pain, extreme fatigue and other symptoms. Ty was 2 when taken into care and adopted, against Jean's will. Years later, an appeal found if Jean's disability had been acknowledged and supported, it may have been possible for her to have kept Ty. The adoption order couldn't be overturned, but she never stopped thinking about her child.
Every second of every day. First thing you think of when you wake up in the morning, last thing you think of when you go to bed at night. You're always wondering, what do you say, and trying to gauge the person if they ask you if you've got children. Because the next question is, where are they? And is it going to be a person who's going to be understanding? Is it going to be a person who thinks that children only get taken away if you've been abusing them?
As soon as Ty turned 18, they found Jean on social media. They've been talking online, and today is their second meeting, their first hug. Ty suspects she has the same condition. There's a lot to take in.
I'd grown up, being told I was adopted. I had always been told that you weren't capable of looking after me, and that you just wouldn't have been a good parent, that you gave me up willingly because of it. I was not told that you had genuinely put up such a struggle to be able to keep me.
Time was stolen from us, and we're being punished for something that was neither of our fault. And we now have a lot of work to try and do to unpack it, to try and get to that normal parent-child relationship.
I'm 19 now. That's my whole existence. I can't get that back. But I could have had her growing up. I could have had someone that fought for me relentlessly. And I didn't get that. And I should have.
And it's still happening. Our investigation found in the last 3 years almost 5,500 times where a parent's physical disability was a factor in a child being taken into care. Many disabled parents have told me that the reason given for taking their child into care was emotional harm, much harder to define than physical abuse or neglect. Our figures revealed that in more than 2,000 cases, this was cited when a parent had a physical disability, and in almost 2,000 cases where the parent had a learning disability. These figures include not just actual, but future emotional harm caused by their disability. They are difficult judgments to make.
If you leave children in a situation because you're desperately trying to make it work, when do you say enough is enough? When that child is 3, 4, 5, 6, and the damage it can do is immense. But the question is, are we getting the balance right? Social workers are damned if they do, damned if they don't. It's their heads on a plate. So we've got this risk-averse culture, this lack of support. It's a perfect storm.
And that storm is putting many disabled women off having children altogether.
It's like our lives don't matter, and that includes starting a family. It's like you shouldn't be here, and you shouldn't make more of yourselves either. So we're up against enormous discrimination.
Anna is too traumatised, too fearful to have another baby.
Having my third child, it's realised I can't keep it myself through it. It's too much pain and it's hurting.
It's been hard to speak out, but these women want others to see their pain, to understand their fight for change.
Disabled mothers have the right to have children.
As you can see, Tessa joins us in the studio now. It's a heartbreaking story and really difficult decisions. I think it's fair to say that none of those decisions are taken lightly, are they?
No, that's right. These are terribly difficult judgments to make, and it's social workers often having to make these decisions. So we took our findings to the British Association of Social Workers, and what they had to say was really interesting. They say they often have to make decisions when the parent hasn't got the right support in place and hasn't got the right resources. And they say that recommending a child goes into care in that kind of situation is, in their words, heartbreaking. What they want is more guidance and more funding from the government. What the government had to say, well, we asked them to come on for an interview. They said they couldn't, but they did provide us with a statement. They say care is a last resort. They say decisions are based on the needs of the child, and local authorities cannot discriminate based on any protected characteristic, including disability.
But this is the complete opposite of what the women you spoke to told you. They say they do feel discriminated against.
Yeah, they absolutely do, and they want to talk about this. And I think what we've done today is give a voice to a group of people who feel unheard and feel they're not able to shout about something when they feel they're being treated unfairly. This is a really hard story to tell. If you've had any dealings with family courts, you'll know they're closed, so the media can't report on them. In fact, often they can't even tell their own families, but this is something that's so important to discuss. They want to know why funding shouldn't be going to disabled mothers, why it's going more into child protection. Clearly, the current situation isn't working for far too many people.
I am a mother.
So what do you? So what do you think? I mean, is this something which you have become aware of? Is this a problem which you have experienced yourself? If so, let us know at the Child Protection Party. This is an issue that we are passionate about, and we're going to fight for you so that more recognition can be given to this problem, because we need people to be able to identify what the problem is to start with, and then we need to organise some sort of campaign so that those of you that have had your children removed who have got a disability, that your voice can be heard. I think one of the most disappointing parts of this is that as a member of the Australian Association of Social Workers, there doesn't seem to be much traction in terms of the ASW having a voice in relation to this. And as we saw from this particular broadcast, the British Association of Social Workers' voice is somewhat mute as well and tends to side with social workers. It is important that all social workers understand not only the complexities of these problems, but also in many cases give parents the opportunity to be able to parent and to have their children live with them until they're 18. There was a telling story of that young woman who discovered her mother at the age of 19 and was told that through the adoption process that her mother was not capable of caring for her, which was an absolute and probably blatant lie. And that 19 years later, this adult now has to reinvent her life, knowing that her mother was there and that her mother was not able to, under the adoption system, to fight for your child, particularly in the UK, where they go straight into adoption. So this is a fundamental issue that we all should be fighting for, and I'd like to see us get together. Now, if you wish to join the Child Protection Party, we certainly encourage you to do so. And I've got a few things on the screen at one time, but that's irrelevant. But if you so join us at admin@childprotection.party and subscribe to us at if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to us as well. But you can't sit back and complain about a system if you choose to do nothing about it. We at CPP are at least endeavouring to do something to rectify the problem which impacts so many people. If you've got further comments you want to make, I noticed John's made a comment, and I appreciate that John, all children's removed parent blamed for parental skills. That's true. They're supposedly lacking in them, I guess. Later found parents and children have autism after removal, and that's sometimes true, I think, as well. Services are still using the old paperwork. I don't think the old paperwork's got to do with it. I think it's an old skill set, actually, John, that needs to be updated. And people need to listen to what people have to say rather than judging them from the outset. And Diana, great to see you on board, Diana. More support is required. This is cruel. That's so true. What happened to having an inclusive society? No such thing, Diana. And we need to do better as a society, no doubt about that. But the only way we can do better is to raise our voices and fight to make sure that disabled people don't have their children removed from them. Thanks very much for being with me. Take care, everybody. Look after yourselves. And be tuned in for our next live feed. Take care.